My name is Tommy Christensen. I teach Amazon Web Services classes, and there are some demos that I would love to do in some of my artificial intelligence machine learning classes that are so complex that my concern is if I were to demonstrate them, my students would not be able to recreate the effect. So what I want to do is make a recording of myself doing a demonstration to see if I can provide the recording to my students, and maybe they can follow along to perform these actions themselves. One thing that I would like to show is Kiro. My students, if you're listening to this, it's not likely that you will run Kiro inside of an EC2 instance, but I don't know where you will be running it, and so I can't demonstrate your configuration since I don't know what it is. So I'm going to install Kiro in an EC2 instance and then use Kiro to create an application. The application is going to be intended to allow a user to open a web browser and enter a zip code and a email address, or maybe a phone number. And when the International Space Station is headed over that zip code, either after dusk or before dawn at a time where it can be viewed when the sunlight is hitting it, there's supposed to be an email or a text message sent to your email address or phone number that you provided. That's the goal of the application. I actually don't know how far I'm going to get with this demo, but I'm teaching a class in a couple days that I want to show something for. So let's see how far we get. I'm going to start off by going into the EC2 portal. Quick note here about Amazon best practices. I'm going to be violating some security best practices for this proof of concepts. For one thing, I'm logged in as the root administrator of my organization. Best practices indicate you should always, in a new account, go ahead and implement some sort of an alternate identification scheme, and that could be federation with your Active Directory or Ping Federate or Okta. Could be IAM users, whatever the case. I don't want to take the time to set that up, and I do want to demonstrate a complete greenfield deployment. So that's one place I'm going to be taking some liberties with best practices. I'm just going to dive straight in and create a new EC2 instance called Kiro Demo. And I'm going to use the Amazon Linux operating system. Since I'm going to be installing a graphical IDE, integrated development environment, it would make sense to use a Windows operating system that already has a graphical interface. However, using a Windows operating system limits you with the Python and Strands agent content that's going to be installed. So I'm going to use Amazon Linux and just have the installation of a graphical operating system be a part of the deployment that you'll see in a couple of minutes. I can't use a T3 micro instance type. That's not going to have the firepower that I need. M6i large is going to be the cheapest machine that I can use that will get the job done. This is about 9 cents per hour that it's going to cost me to run this virtual machine. I don't have any key pairs that are currently created. I'm going to go ahead and create one that I will call Kiro Demo. Right now I've got a few files that are in my downloads folder. Notice that none of these 4 were downloaded today. When I say create key pair, look back at that folder. There is a new file that just got downloaded that I can use to access this machine. I need to make sure that I edit the network settings and create a new security group that will allow port 8443 to be used for the remote desktop that I'm going to configure, and I just need my IP address to be able to access it. I might as well call this a different name. Instead of Launch Wizard 1, I'll say this is the Kiro Demo Security Group, and then I need to come down and configure my storage to be 30 gig instead of the default, which is 8, which would not have been enough for me. In my advanced details, I need to deal with security. I'm just going to go ahead and use default security as I launch the machine, and then I'm going to attach a role to it. In this markdown file that if you're my student, I will provide you access to, there's an indication of a set of policies that you can attach to a role that is used by the instance profile as you first create the virtual machine. But the problem is my account has never been through the process of expanding the limit of 10 policies per role. You could ask for a service limit and get that extended, and then you could go ahead and just create a role that has those 13 policies attached. But what I'm going to do is, again, a violation of AWS best practices. I'm going to use the administrator access role to simply allow this Kiro machine unfettered access to every AWS service. That is a complete violation of best practices. Do as I say, not as I do. Don't do this. Again, I'm just trying to get this demo to be able to cross the finish line in a fairly short amount of time. So I'm not going to demonstrate the proper way to handle security here. This is a demo of Kiro. This is not a demo of security. Please don't think anything I'm doing here is appropriate security-wise. I'm violating a bunch of best practices. This is a script that is going to run as what's called user data. I am the user. This is my data that I'm providing as a bash shell script that will run when the machine first boots. And now all I have to do is say launch instance, bring the machine to life, and that script will run in the background. I'm going to pause the video here, and once the machine has had the chance to completely install all of the background software, such as the Python interpreter and the Strands agent and Docker and a number of other components, then we will pick up the demo after the boot of the machine. Okay, so a few minutes have passed. Let's take a look at the properties of our EC2 instance that we created. I'm going to go into the IAM service, Identity and Access Management Service, and I'm going to take care of the security provisions that are required by this demo. Again, if you take a look at the Markdown file that I'm going to provide to my students, these are the actions that this Kiro machine needs to be able to take. In order for those actions to work, I could use a role that's attached to just those policies, or I could create a new role that is going to be used for an EC2 instance to be able to have automated actions perform. And I'm going to use the administrator access role. Again, this is a violation of best practices. When I do this, I can name this my Kiro demo role. Again, best practices would be for me instead, apparently I did this once before and I'll just call it Kiro demo. I was going through a little bit of a run through, and I found that the Kiro demo role that I had created could not have more than 10 policies attached. I could have made a request with AWS to extend that limit, but I don't have time to get back an answer, so I'm going to sweep the problem under the rug and create a role called Kiro demo, which is going to have the administrator access policy. That Kiro demo role, which I had created before this video, it had 10 policies that were attached, but that's the limit to the number of policies that can be attached, and I couldn't add more policies. So I'm just going to go ahead and kill this half-completed demo that I had started before I started this video. There is no longer something called Kiro demo role. There is, however, something called Kiro demo that I just created in front of you. It has just the administrator access policy associated with it. Because the administrator access policy has these wildcard characters here, it means all actions on all resources are going to be able to be performed. And all I have to do is look at the properties of this machine that I had just created, specify in the Security tab that I want to modify an IAM role, and use the Kiro demo role. So now, any action that's taken in an automated way from that machine, it's going to be able to perform every action on every AWS service. Read from DynamoDB, write to S3, whatever kind of actions I choose to take. I believe that the machine will have had enough opportunity to run its entire user data script, which will enable the Strands agent to have been installed, the Docker services for container hosting. Actually, it's not even going to host containers, but it is going to generate new container images and write them to the Elastic Container Registry. That can't happen without Docker installed. So Docker's installed, Python's installed, Strands agent's installed, a whole bunch of fun stuff is installed, and therefore I should be able to click on the Connect menu, go to my SSH client, navigate to the appropriate folder, and run this connection command. The appropriate folder is my downloads folder that has the PEM file in it that was just created some 20 minutes ago, this Kiro demo PEM. I should now be able to run the command that is provided in the AWS Management Console for me to connect, and there I am. All I really need to do from here is to set a password. That's something that cannot happen in the user data script, we need to make sure that we install the graphical interface, which, by the way, is one of the things that was installed during the user data installation of Python and Strands agent and Docker. There's also the DCV setup, which is the graphical utility that we're going to be using to connect to this desktop. And I need to set a password. I'm going to use a password of the letter A and hit enter and then confirm the letter A is my password. I know it says that it's a bad password, and it is, but again, I'm violating best practices of security all over the place. Why not once more? So I am now connected to that machine with SSH over port 22, but what I want to do is connect to that same machine over port number 8443. Okay, now this has to be prefaced with a HTTPS because it would default to just HTTP over port 80 if I didn't. Well, I would try port 8443, but it would be using the HTTP protocol instead of HTTPS, and so I needed to type in HTTPS followed by the IP address of this virtual machine, and then that port 8443, which is what DCV is going to listen on. The fact that it is taking a while, I thought might be an indication that it was not fully rebooted after the user data, but maybe it's ready to go. After I connect, I should be able to get to a command prompt, terminal window. It's my magic password. And if all goes well, I should be able to install Kiro. Again, if you're taking my class, I will provide for you the script that you can use to install Kiro from this terminal window after it gets to be responsive from its initial boot here. And it is possible that the user data is still running. I didn't think that it would actually respond to the DCV environment until the reboot happened after the user data. Maybe it's good to go. It's a little bit slower than I had expected, but we'll just press on, and if it reboots out from under us, that's an indication that the user data has finished and requires a reboot. I'm going to paste that. That's not what I want to paste. I'm going to paste the content of the document that I'll provide to my students for the, there we go, for the installation of Kiro. This is the way you install Kiro, one way to install Kiro. You can also do it graphically. I have a web browser in this environment, but I will not, that's not it. I just installed GNOME. I'm scrolling through my little, sorry about that. I'm scrolling through my little cookbook file here, and this is the block of code that I need to run to install Kiro. It will not affect things that DCV is also installed. There we go. So this is Kiro. It did the installation of that DCV, which is a component of a graphical interface. That graphical interface had already been installed on this machine, so the attempt to reinstall was insignificant. Just a little time waster on my part by mistake. Now I should be able to type in Kiro, K-I-R-O. And if all goes well, I should be able to see the graphical interface come to life. It's going to want me to sign in. You cannot use Kiro unless you have signed in to one of 4 options that are going to be presented inside of a web browser. The default web browser here is Firefox on this EC2 instance with the DCV installed. And I'm going to use my builder ID from AWS. You can use any one of those other options of GitHub or Google. Here is my builder ID. I do not remember my password, so I am going to pause the video and look it up. Okay, I'm back. I've got the password ready to paste. I have got a authentication code that has been sent to my mailbox, so I will copy that and paste it. And now I should be able to close down the browser window and go back to the Kiro interface. So Kiro is an integrated development environment, IDE. It's based on Visual Studio. And, Microsoft has made the Visual Studio IDE available for anybody to manipulate and make their own private version of it, and Amazon did. And they have the ability now to open a project. I'm going to go to my command prompt, the terminal window. There's one terminal window currently running. I need to get a second terminal window. And from here, just make a directory by the name of ISS-notifier. I'll call this project the ISS notifier project. And open a project using that ISS notifier folder that I just created. And now there's a directory hierarchy that's being set up underneath the ISS notifier. In that directory hierarchy, the first thing that I should do is install, or maybe not install is the right word, but I need to create a directory hierarchy within which I'm going to put a file called mcp.json. I need to create a folder by the name of, let me look at my files first of all. Did I not choose it? Okay, here's what I need to say. I got to say open, sorry. Got to come in now and take a look at the group of folders. I need to create one called .kiro. And then create a subfolder by the name of settings. There we go. That's not what I want. Under Kiro, I need to create a new folder by the name of settings. Under settings, I need to create a new file by the name of MCP model context protocol.json. And I have the appropriate content to go into this file. Again, I will, if you are a student of mine, make this available for anybody in my class who wants to do this kind of demo. What this does is it connects to a bunch of MCPs that are created by AWS so that Kiro here can learn how to connect to DynamoDB, how to connect to Lambda. It teaches Kiro here about the proper syntax to talk to all of them. It's a little bit confusing working with these MCPs because part of what Kiro can do is it can create MCPs for you. It will take the application that I am telling it to create and it's going to create MCPs. But at the very beginning here, when we're dealing with MCPs, we're talking about connecting to MCPs that have already been created. And if I come here to the extensions and take a look at what's been installed, Python section. I was just wondering if there's any extensions that I need to take a look at now that I've got the MCP connected. It's got all of the knowledge that it needs to interact with AWS. Oh, this is very important. I've used 0.82 out of 50 credits. If I run this entire demo in this account, I will use up all 50 of my credits and not cross the finish line. Therefore, before I'm finished with this demo, I'm going to upgrade my plan. If you are not in a position where you can pay for Kiro, if you're just working with your colleagues to do a proof of concept for yourself, one of you could start this demo and have some sort of replication happen with your project folder. Like you could use GitHub and replicate GitHub to another colleague. And then that colleague would be able to use their Kiro account to pick up where you left off. So it is possible to do this demo as somebody who has not upgraded their plan. But I'm going to go ahead and start off with a non-upgraded plan, and I will pay for it using the free plan to start with, and I will pay for it before I'm finished. Okay, so we have got the... Oh, I had to click on Enable MCP. I was wondering why it wasn't already connected to the MCP servers. There was a button to say Enable MCP. Now that I said Enable MCP, there should be green checkboxes that show up here to connect all of these MCP, to connect to all of these MCP servers. Now, again, the reason this is working is because I associated a role with this machine that has the administrator access policy associated with it. So every single action that Kiro takes is going to work. We have all the authentication and authorization we could possibly want. If you are in an environment where you have not used the administrator access policy, which I recommend you don't, you won't get these green checkboxes. So again, this is not a class in security, but expect some failures there if you haven't taken a blunt instrument like I did and made sure that all the security would work. So we are now at the point where we can just go ahead and either do vibe or spec. I'm going to say spec, which is where we plan first, as opposed to vibe, which is where we just kind of create on the fly without planning ahead. I want to have Kiro, I'll take over full screen here. I want to have Kiro plan something for me. I want it to make the software development lifecycle bulletproof, creating all of the associated resources that will make a good, healthy software development lifecycle work. You could even put into your specifications that you want what gets created to be compatible with the Atlassian suite, to use a code repository like Bitbucket and a code builder like Bamboo. You can say that you want to use Terraform or Ansible to actually do your deployments for you. I'm not going to say any of that. I'm going to let it just do its thing. But do understand that if you have components of the software development lifecycle, if you are a DevOps shop and you want to utilize Travis CI, Circle CI, whatever you want, you can tell Kiro to create a pipeline that's compatible with whatever tools you want to use. But again, I'm not going to actually care about any of that. I just want to cross the finish line. I'm not planning on doing a lot of maintenance going forward and making sure that I have a team that's able to leverage DevOps to maintain it down the road. I just want to get the darn thing to work here. But understand that you can do that in your little spec. You're able to give it as robust instructions as you want. But what I want to do is simply take a look at the requirements and paste it in here. And I apologize for taking a little moment there. I wanted to make sure that I had the right version of this prompt. This is the hard part of working with Kiro, is the prompt engineering, making sure that you come up with a prompt that tells Kiro exactly what it should do. And again, you could put in here that you want to have the build process be used by Jenkins or Code Build or whichever container building service you want to use could be explicitly declared here, or you can just let Kiro figure which Amazon services to leverage in order to get to the finish line. So I'm being fairly agnostic here about what I'm asking Kiro to do. I am simply going to hit the enter key and let it go to town. It is working. And again, in that big write-up, I was just telling it that I want to have a application that will notify people when the International Space Station is overhead. And not a whole lot more detail than that, frankly. It's a few iterations in, by the way. I didn't just come up with that. I have failed a few times here where it didn't run as smoothly as I would have liked it to. It asked a lot more questions that I felt like needed to be thrown into the original prompt. But I'm saying that I'm building a new feature. I'm not fixing something that exists already. Fairly simple question there. Then I will say that I would like to create a requirements document and then come up with a design document. So it's first of all a requirements document that is going to be generated, then a design document will be created after that. Let me make this a little bit bigger since this is all the action. Eventually there's going to be some content in the middle pane that will be important, but for now everything that we're doing is over here. So it's working, and you're going to be able to take a look in the lower portion of the screen to indicate how far your credits are taking you. Remember, I said I was going to use a free version of Kiro to start with, but I'm going to transition to a paid-for version before we're done. We're up to 0.82 out of 50 credits having been used so far. We're not going to cross the finish line with just the 50 credits. It says it's waiting on me, so what's it waiting on. Let's see. Oh, has it finished the requirements documents? It looks like it has finished the requirements document. Now it's waiting on my input. By the way, I own a DNS name called awsteach.com, so if you want to make this happen in your own namespace, you would have to modify the prompt that I just put in. And I will now say that I would like to generate the technical design. I thought that it was going to offer this to me. Again, I've run this a couple times, and at this point, it had given me a little button to say generate the tech design, but it apparently did not do that this time. This is a non-deterministic service. Deterministic programming is what we had for decades. Now we're into the generative AI, which is non-deterministic, and it doesn't do the same thing every time. But it seems happy with the requirements document that it had created, and now it's going to come up with a technical design that will take, again, what my goals were of creating an application that will allow a user to submit a zip code and an email address and then be notified when the International Space Station is headed overhead. It's going to be using all sorts of publicly available resources. I wanted to come up with a demonstration that doesn't require API keys. I could have had an example that would go and scrape information from Major League Baseball to let me know when somebody's into the seventh inning of a no-hitter. But that requires a paid API key to talk to Major League Baseball. Could have had it talk to Charles Schwab and notify me when there's some sort of a condition of stock prices. But again, that would require a API key. I can get those API keys quickly and simply enough, but you wouldn't be able to replicate exactly the same thing if you wanted to recreate what I'm doing. So I'm trying to work here just with publicly available information, like how do you find the GPS coordinates of a zip code? How do you find the location of the International Space Station? What time is it? When is dusk? When is dawn? Things like that are all bits of information you can get from out there on the web without having an API key. And so I didn't have to provide this Kiro service any proprietary key information, just essentially what I want it to do and have it figure out where to go and find the information that it needs. So it's working right now. This is going to keep on working for a while. You see that we're up to 2 credits having been used out of the 50 that we are allocated. So I will upgrade to the paid-for version of Kiro, but I'll give you a feel for just how far we go. Probably when we're into like the 30s or 40s, I'll think about doing my upgrade. For now, I'm going to let it just run, and you should be able to just watch as it flies. Okay, when I saw that it did not give me the prompt to generate the design document, I did not actually look at the fact that it had asked some questions of me, and so I just went ahead. I'm going to go ahead and put the answers to the questions that it asked me and see if it's still possible for it to navigate. And it's taking the requirements document it had generated and putting my answers into that requirements document. I'm assuming that it had assumed a lot of these answers. It seemed to be leaning towards one answer already in many cases. But just in case that it went with a different answer, I went ahead and indicated a different direction for it to use. All right, so it's editing the design document now. So clearly, you don't get set in stone when you first get into Kiro and tell it to go a certain direction. If you realize that it's headed down the wrong path, you are welcome to tell it, I don't like that direction, go a different way. What I've done, because I wanted a concise video, is I started this project a few times, learned that it needed more details, and I modified my prompt multiple times to get something that was going to be sort of right the first time. But clearly it thought that I should be giving it even more detail. So I could make another prompt that incorporates all of these details into that prompt. And if things fail in this volley, I'll probably do exactly that. I'll take the information I just put in the answers to its questions, and I'll make sure to incorporate all that information into a single prompt that I will deploy just as soon as Kiro boots. But I'm going to sit back and just let this run for a little while. said, sorry, somebody locked my car.
That's me. You can open for those two and take from them. Chew, you want to go outside? Let's go. Come on. Cash, will you open the door, please? I thought we were leaving, and then I realized you had gone after a while. Thank you, sir.
Hey, darling? What's up?
Chew went under the deck thing.
No.
I think he's rolling your.
Can you check the stairwell, see if that label meets your desires?
I mean, it's not huge, but
You want 3 separate that have 1 word each, or what do you want?
well, I just gotta be able to put it on here. I don't know if someone think this will work. Maybe another one. Can you print me another? It's just because I'm
Two of the same, sure.
trying to get rid of that Bona floor cleaner. So I figure if I have it maybe in a couple of places or even up here, you know, two more, I could. Should I put one up here?
Sure. How many you want?
Hit me one more. I can make this. It's not perfect. Usually when you square it, you probably go up there, grab here. So I'll just do a.
So that's all you want?
I think that works, right? You see it there, there, here, 3 angles. You think that's good?
Yes. Spectacular. So excited. Okay, so the next thing after the design is to click continue and review tasks. So it has created a tasks markdown file, and we have the opportunity to simply run all tasks, run required or required and optional. I'll go ahead and run everything. I'm ready whenever you are. I actually have to run to work on something, so I'm going to pause the video here. This is going to be working in the background. There are many times that Kiro is going to ask me for permission to install some background software. There's no way to simply automate. Oh, and there's also this, too many requests, please wait before trying again. I'm going to be able to say, pick up where you left off, and it will continue to process through all the tasks. But again, some of the tasks are going to require me to confirm that I want some background software to be installed, and from what I've found, there's no way to simply have a blanket statement, trust all scripts that you are generating. So it's going to generate a script and ask me, do you want to run this? It's essentially a bunch of AWS command line commands. Do I want, and not just AWS command line commands, but also just bash shell commands. It's going to prompt me, do I want to trust the running of that command? And as I say yes, 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 I will actually say trust, trust, trust over and over on all the prompts, and eventually we'll get through the entire tasks. And I don't have the chance to sit here and babysit this immediately, so I'm going to let this run. I'm going to pause the video and let the tasks run until it hits the first one of those prompts to be trusted. So this is the first of many inputs that I can expect where I need to either say run the command that is being proposed here. It's a a CloudFormation lint program that checks to see if there's any residue in the CloudFormation template that needs to be addressed. And I could say run this exact command, or I could say trust, which will run every CFN lint command that gets dreamt up. And I'm going to say trust so that all of the CFN lint commands are going to run. Also, I am repeatedly receiving messages saying that the system is being throttled, that there's too much activity for my free account. And I think it's about time for me to go ahead and upgrade. You can see that I have used 34 credits out of my 50, and it gets reset down to 0 at the end of the month. But I don't want to wait that long, so if I were to click here and say upgrade plan, then I don't have to worry about running out of credits. I've got 50 credits only with my free account, and if I pay $20 a month, I get 1,000 credits. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and say upgrade to Pro. It'll prompt me, I'm sure, for a credit card, which I will go ahead and fill out while I'm pausing the video. Okay, so I'm processing the credit card in a separate browser window. I should be able to close down that browser window, and with any luck, I am hoping to have it confirmed that I am a Kiro Pro subscriber, which you can see here that it agrees that I am. So I shouldn't have any problems any longer with the limits. You see that I have used 0 of my 1,000 credits. It's waiting on more input, by the way. I can expect a bunch more prompts where it is asking me what I want to trust. Okay, when I said trust, I wanted it to trust the entire Python command. And I'm not actually sure what I clicked on. So the thing to do is click on trust when it prompts you, and then do you want to just have this one full command or anything that starts with Python 3? And I'm going to say the base command of anything that starts with Python 3 is what I want to trust. I can expect a lot of these. This is the kind of most time-consuming part as a human being that's escorting Kiro through this process. It's going to be prompting a lot of task updates. I guess you could have a companion that's configured with browser access that you could tell to open up Kiro and click the button for you. But that's the only workaround I can think of, at least in my experience with Kiro. And for a production environment, it's not a bad idea for a human to be taking a look at what Kiro is trying. I'm also looking at these errors. You can expect for there to be some DynamoDB errors if you're working with MySQL for some MySQL errors. It's going to be testing itself. Kiro is going to go through the process of checking its own work, and when it does run across errors, you should expect for it to be able to fix the errors that it reports. It's reading all these error messages just as it's presenting them to you, and you shouldn't have to derail the process whenever there's an error message that occurs. I've had good experience just letting the system take care of it on its own. So I'll just sit back and keep on clicking trust to see how far it makes it. Thank you. It's a good memory. Yeah, I'm making a video of a demonstration for my students. You can come in. You can come in. Come in. Push, 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 push. Come over here. All right, so there's an artificial intelligence program that is writing another program. This program called Kiro that I didn't write is writing a program called the Space Station Locator, which I did. Well, I've had this idea for a while. Wouldn't it be cool if you can go to a web page and punch in your zip code to tell the system where you live in the world and tell it your phone number, and then in the evening it sends you a text to say, "Hey, the space station's overhead. Look up." But writing a program like that, like, would you know how to write that program? Because I don't know how to write that program. But artificial intelligence these days is getting better and better at doing things like that. And so I'm having this program called Kiro, which is an artificial intelligence program. I am having it write the space station locator program. So I'm telling my students, every so often I unmute the microphone. It's muted right now. But I unmute the microphone and I tell the students what Kiro is doing right now. Like right now it's testing to see if what it did is working.
How long do you have till...
I don't know how long this is going to take.
How long do you have till your class ends?
The class is not running right now. I'm making a recording so that I can teach a class on Tuesday. I'm teaching a class on Tuesday, and I want to be able to tell the students, hey, what? Okay, so I've been teaching this class for a few months now. I've been teaching a few different classes where during the class I say, did you know that it's possible to come up with an idea for a program and then just basically tell Kiro in 2 paragraphs what you want the program to do and just sit back.
What did you want your program to do?
I want it to be able to have me go to a web browser, have anybody go to a web browser, type in a zip code, and then a phone number, and then just sit back, and whenever the International Space Station is overhead, it sends you a text to say look up.
You could just look up and see.
Yeah, when you see the text that says the International Space Station is overhead, you just go outside and look up.
So then you could, so then if it says that, then you could tell us, and we could see it.
If the program works.
Yay! Go program! Many more programs.
Yeah, that's the whole point, is that you can use this not just for that program, but any program you want to write.
I want more programs that my dad makes.
So can you think of any other programs that would be fun? So the type of program that I'm looking for, in the world, there's all kinds of information. There's information about which baseball players hit home runs yesterday. There's information about which basketball players scored the most points in the NBA Finals. There's information about which stocks grew by the most money yesterday. All of this bits of information. There's information about weather, like which cities had the most rain yesterday. So all this information is out there, and you can write a program that gets that information and processes it however you want. But it's really cumbersome for a human to do that.
So you can make your own website?
Yeah. Well, I make my own websites a lot.
Hey, you've made a website?
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me one that you've made?
Well, they're just demonstrations.
Wait, so they aren't official websites?
Well, they're websites that anybody can access.
Oh.
I have there's one called info.awsteach.com. That's the only one that's active right now. So anybody in the world can go to info.awsteach.com. I have to pay $20 a year for awsteach.com. In order for awsteach.com to be mine, I have to pay $20 a year, and then I can put anything I want in front of it. And right now I just have this info.awsteach.com.
What happens if you don't pay?
Oh, then it just goes away. Somebody else could use that
Oh, so they could
name.
So they could say.
Yeah, right now nobody else can use that name.
But they could just use the name if they wanted to.
Yeah. So this live demos, real ideas coming soon. I actually had artificial intelligence come up with this. I told AI what to create here. So I own this webpage. It doesn't do anything.
Nice. I hope that that works, and also on the other ones that you make.
Well, yeah. What other programs should I make? Because I can hire you and Sutton. I'd like to pay you guys so that you can contribute to your retirement. I want you to be able to mow lawns with me, but also I want you to be able to become a programmer.
I don't know.
Well, if you come up with ideas, we can work on.
I'm thinking, like, of ideas that like a website could do.
I'd love.
It says like, whatever, like, the things that I do.
Yeah, dude. Don't be embarrassed. Anything that you think that would be a cool thing for a website.
I'm gonna think.
Sure.
Yeah. So we like. bunch of them?
I've just made simple ones like the one you saw with just words
Nice.
in different colors. But this one that I'm hoping is going to be working is going to do more than that. You supply a zip code and then it starts texting you information.
Yay!
It's kind of an interesting idea.
Yep.
So I'm just looking for ideas like that I can show my students.
Ah. Ah. Ah.
You're gonna be okay.
diversity, an institution becomes less excellent. If you're going to go from 4% of the pilots being black to 50% of the pilots to be black, it begs the question, you are going to lower the standards. So you are going to, you're going to put a square peg through a round hole. You are going to force something that naturally is not happening. And you will all of a sudden be playing a very treacherous and dangerous game when you board a plane. When I get heart surgery or I board a plane, I don't care about the color of the skin of the person doing it. I want excellence and I want meritocracy.
Has anything worked?
Oh, it's still generating.
Oh. I feel like nothing had happened.
Oh, no. It's hours that it usually takes. Oh, I've been doing this for a week and a half. I'm hoping to finish by tomorrow.
parents' basement. And I just want to say congratulations, you did it. And by it, I mean had your first lesbian kiss. As for the degree you just got, that's a little more complicated. There was a lot of bowling at the commencement ceremonies this year, which is weird because you know how hard it is to make bombing at a graduation speech? All you have to do is give a little pep talk, tell a joke about college debt, and lie about how anything is possible. But this year, speakers did not read the room. Hey, geniuses, maybe don't mention AI to the people whose future jobs it's about to take.
Artificial intelligence is the next industrial revolution.
The question is whether you will help shape artificial intelligence. We do not know.
AI is rewriting production as we sit here.
I gotta say, the kids are right. They're right to fear that in the age of AI, that degree they're holding is about as useful as your unused miles on Spirit Airlines. Really, isn't that the big question we should now be asking about education? Now you can get the answer to everything by asking your phone, why are we going to college at all? Anyone? Anyone? Rahm Emanuel, who is definitely not running for president, just released his 5-point grand bargain plan for higher education, as private citizens with no political aspirations often do. Ron wants to make college great again, cheaper, faster, more accessible. It sounds exciting and looks good on a campaign website, but it's all about fighter jets in the AP programs. As it is, only about 35% of graduates get a job in their field of study. And now with AI, English major, AI can write. Computer science major, AI can code. Music major, AI already has songs on the charts. Philosophy major, AI can learn to write names on coffee cup. And it's not like college was doing such a bang-up job before Google Gemini came along. 600 desperate professors from the California university system just signed an open letter to let people know that a lot of the kids coming into their college classroom have to be taught middle school math. Sadly, today many young people cannot locate on a map the countries we're born. Fox News sent a reporter to the beach on the a lot of the kids coming into their college classroom have to be taught middle school math. Sadly, today many young people cannot locate on a map the countries we're born. Fox News sent a reporter to the beach on Memorial Day to find out what many typical young adults know. Nothing. Not even what the holiday means, not who we fought against in our wars or why we fought them. World War II? That might have been against Vietnam. The level of basic shit these kids are let out of high school not knowing what the country we gained our independence from? Who could know that? Oh, they know who knows. Yeah. Why bother learning with context when ChatGPT can not only just tell me the answer, but also compliment me for asking such an astute question? Yeah, that's the one thing the robots figured out early on. We're less likely to oppose them if they're always acting like they kind of want to fuck us. You know, it's so easy to get seduced by technology. I remember a teacher once scolding me for using a calculator, saying I should learn math because you're not always going to have your calculator walking around in the real world. Except now I don't have to know Thank you, Mr. Manford. No, his point was not wrong. The calculator disabled a part of my brain. Look, we all want the good parts of AI, solving medical mysteries, figuring out clean energy, but the vast majority of us will never use it for that. For us, it's a lobotomy with a monthly fee. We're not using it to cure cancer. We're using it because we forgot how to make toast. We emptied the kids' heads by letting them out of high school without knowing anything, and then, what a perfect time for robots to come along and say, no problem, I got you. I'm your brain now. That is one big grand experiment we're running here. Can humans survive if we completely outsource our brains to something that does all our thinking? Like Jill Biden used to do for Joe? Fake laugh machine. Now, I'm no commencement speaker. They wouldn't let me near that podium, but I do have a message for the graduates, and it's this. You are not wrong. You do face an existential issue. But the good news is, it's one completely in your power to fix. Other issues that college students in the past faced, like ending the Vietnam War, or civil rights, or climate change, they all involve having to convince the older generation to do something. This one's all you. You are the AI generation. And you only have to convince yourselves. I think it's great that you have this instinct to get involved and take up causes, and many are worthy, but get serious. Your issue shouldn't be Zionists, or trans, or plastic straws. No, your mission, should you decide to accept it, is to fight for humans and make sure we're not completely replaced. And you can't do it if you're hopelessly dependent on the thing that's replacing you. 90% of today's college students admit they've used AI academically, and 73% of the faculty say they've had to deal with AI integrity issues, formerly known as cheating. Maybe the commencement speaker should be bullying you. AI has made college one big robot circle jerk where students use AI to write papers and professors use AI to grade them. Okay, can you see in this equation who has been completely cut out? The humans. It's the human kids. This is our issue. Finally,
solutions and it will lose the marks. Can you see why? So as a student going through this question, most likely what you do first is square both sides to get x is equal to x minus 2 squared. Expand the brackets, x squared minus 4x plus 4 is equal to x. Move this over to the other side and factorize the quadratic, which will factor into x minus 4, x minus 1. So therefore, x equals 4 or x equals 1. Now most students will stop there and say, okay, we found our answers, we're done. But let's just check whether it's actually back to the original equation. So we plug in x equals 4 and we get 2 is equal to minus 2. That works. Assuming it came from x minus equals 1 should work as well. Square root of 1 is equal to 1 minus 2. So that's minus 1. And the square root of 1 is not equal to the square root of minus 1. So that doesn't work. Can you see why this happened? And of course this underscores
do I need to?
I don't know.
Do you know where Daddy is?
He's in his office.
Nope.
Daddy.
Tommy? Tommy?
How can he help you?
Are you asking if the dog needs to be fed?
Daddy, does the dog need to be fed?
Cupcake and Chewy got fed. Is she plays food on top of the crate, or did I set it in?
See you later. He's happy that we can buy you. Okay. I don't know. Yes.
text you the amount?
Sure.
And we send it via Zelle, right?
That's my memory, yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
I need Mary to sign Brandon and Oliver up. That would save a lot of my stress. Otherwise, I'm like, do I hire Courtney? Be like, Courtney, please take cash. Please pick him up for 2 days, even though you have no kid and you're with Quinn.
I'm sure she'd love to know that you're in a bind and would love to help. You what? Oh, I thought you said you're not in a bind. I thought you were in denial. Yeah, so I don't see. Does this include the tip?
She doesn't take tip, that's all I owe her.
Thank you.
That's the amount.
Done. Got it. What's Moose's real name? Jay something. Sprouts, thank you. We loved the portable photo booth for a couple of years, but it is. We no longer have a device that is compatible, and we don't see ourselves ever using it again, period. So, thanks so much for Would you like us to return it to you, or find to donate it? Question mark. I think she's outside. Okay, I sent Moose a text. I sent Moose a text. I'll let you know what he says. probably won't have time. Let me know what do you want help with?
There's a filament stuck in the 3D printer.
Are you available right now?
Yes.
Okay. have a salad eventually. I've been wanting to cut up lettuce. So leave the avocado. I will eat it. Yeah, 2 individual packets are cool.
Wait, what did you just say? That's right.
Hey Sutton, when it's clicking like that, apparently you can kind of force it up with a little extra force from your hand. So the gears are trying to send it up through, but if there's not enough strength, then you can kind of hold it and help the force go up. So I just ordered it. I ordered it with white. Did you want red or white? Red? All right, I'm going to unload the white and load the red. All right, well, it's loaded with white right now. It's good to go. What?
Has anything happened?
No, buddy, it's going to be hours. You're going to be asleep.
Aw. Mommy. Mommy.
Maybe you can write a little thank you. I could probably make a drawer for you, Tommy, and we don't need to. We can get rid of one of these. Combine these.
Yeah, I'm up for whatever you want to organize.
I think it'll help to. Cause I need things to be put away.
I know what I'm teaching. You might want to be able to come in here. Is there a drawer in your office that we should be
That's
thinking
the
about?
problem. I don't have a drawer.
Okay.
But I was seeing all this stuff let out. Like this banana thing, she's never gonna use again. So, you wanna store it in a drawer for now?
Yeah, I'll organize maybe after.
Cause I'd love to get this stuff up. You know what I mean? If that can go in a
Oh
drawer.
yeah, I keep thinking I'm going to take that exam and up and put it right back, and I get swamped with other stuff.
Okay, so we have this trash here.
All right, it's run through 20 some odd tasks, several of which were tests, but there were so many errors. I think it's worthwhile to have it go through all of the tests again. And I thought that I had a prompt ready to tell it that. No, I'll just type in, please run all of the, please run the full unit test suite and confirm that all tests pass. All right. Just wanted to have it go back through the tests again because it was fixing problems while it was running tests, and I just want to make sure that it starts back from the get-go. Okay, it seems happy. So that is good to go. I had a separate conversation with Claude 4.6, and it says that after the tests have been run, I should do a SAM validation. So I'm taking care of that now. And the next step is going to be to deploy the infrastructure. Oh, that was actually supposed to be something that I would run in a terminal window. It ran it for me. Okay, I don't want to botch anything at this point. The external Claude that I consulted to ask about the step-by-step process here is suggesting that we should run the Agent Core Bootstrap first before doing a deployment. So I am going to suggest that and say, should we run the Agent Core Bootstrap first, which provisions the MCP servers and strands agent runtime and writes their ARNs to SSM. If so, please do. All right, so if there was any hesitancy to do those steps, I just wanted to make sure to put them in the mind of the Kiro. But the idea of Kiro is that it can do the entire SDL software development lifecycle. There's no Agent Core Bootstrap script in this project. Okay, so that is, I was looking at the activity, and the Claude that I was working with externally had assumed that there would be an Agent Core Bootstrap, and it is suggesting that I can go either through SAM or go directly to the Agent Core. SAM, Serverless Application Model, makes it possible to create a bunch of serverless AWS resources, including the Agent Core content, without having to deal with them directly. You can kind of use the abstraction of SAM. And I say that I will deploy the, I would like option 2, which is to avoid writing the script. So again, I wanted to just hold off there before I made a mistake and find out what the guidance from my external Kiro, sorry, not Kiro, but Claude was. Claude is using an automated choice of which model to use. There's a few different Claudes that are available. If you specifically say you want Claude Sonnet 4.5, it's 1.3 times the credits per hour. If you have an hour's worth of calculations, you're going to spend 30% more for those calculations than if you just let the system automatically choose an appropriate model. And it just basically looks at the complexity of the task that is being attempted and will use an appropriate level model for it. So it's worth, in my opinion, the discounted price to let the system choose which model to use. Let's deploy the SAM stack as is. The polling lambda will handle the agent failures gracefully until the agent core runtime is run. You need to provide 2 parameter values. Do you have the site base URL, https www.ahteach.com? Yes, I think that would work fine. I own awsteach.com. I don't currently have a www record in it. So that will work. Should be that. And I'll specify no A record exists for www in that zone at the moment. And then this ACM certification, yes, use US East 1's ACM services to configure a cert for CloudFront. That will allow for port 443 SSH communications with the application that we're deploying. This involves creating ACM certificate for awsteach.com. www requires DNS validation, means adding a CNAME record, medium risk operations since it involves DNS. The awsteach.com DNS domain name is owned by me and used for demonstration purposes only. Please feel cavalier in making changes to the zone and its records. So in production, you would want to be careful about changes being made to DNS, but I wanted to let Kiro know that it is not going to be a problem if it breaks everything in that zone. So while it's deploying all the resources, I got a little confused when it was asking you about the DNS, so I'm going to ask it, will you be creating all DNS records necessary to support this application? Okay, so after the SAM stack deploys to CloudFront, it will be doing that. Good to know. It says that there is a deployment or there's some residue in S3 from a previous deployment. I never got this far, so I don't know if it's gone into a little bit of a loop or something, but it seems happy moving forward, even though it found a collision. While that's working, speaking of the S3 objects that already existed and so forth, let's take a look at what has been created here. Looking at the S3 service, I see it just told me that there was a collision on a bucket, so looks like there's a few. Info.awsteach.com did exist before, but these ISS notifier and SAM CLI managed default SAM CLI source bucket, those are new. You see the creation date was June 7th, which is today for both of those, so I don't know why it was telling me there was a collision. Must have been something that happened earlier in this process. The EC2 instance that I'm running Kiro on is the only EC2 instance. There are no other EC2 instances here, but there are Lambda functions that should have been deployed. There they are. All of these have been created just today. There's a DynamoDB table. If I look for DynamoDB, any user that registers will be deposited into this ISS users. When I explore the table, so if I don't do a query, if I do a scan, I can see all of the registered users, which is none right now. But are we ready? Remaining manual step provision the Bedrock agent runtime when ready. Until then, the polling Lambda runs every 2 minutes but skips all users gracefully. Yes, I would like to provision the Bedrock agent runtime now. So I'm going to copy that and tell it that we are ready to go live. Let me provision the Bedrock Agent Core runtime. Oh, and I could show that. Here in the graphical tool, I can go to Bedrock Agent Core. You can get there from Bedrock, but there's a Agent Core console that we can look at. And there is a runtime that has been configured. No, agents. Sorry, runtime resources is still empty. There should be a deployment. I think that it should show up here in the runtime resources. Maybe if we just refresh this over the next several minutes. It's certainly still working to do the deployment, but I'm expecting for either an agent core gateway or an API gateway. I don't know what Kiro has deployed. Either one of the agent core gateway or API gateway would allow for communications from web browsers to the agent core service. Oh, it looks like it's still finding errors, so not surprising that there's nothing in the agent core runtime output at the moment. I've got neighbor kids over. I don't know if you hear screaming in the background here. It's interesting, it's got a version of the CLI that doesn't have the agent core commands available in it. So it needs to write a strands agent entry point. It's circumventing a problem. The CLI is a living, breathing library of commands, and every time there's new services available, there are new CLI commands that are constructed. I just installed the CLI as a part of the user data here this morning. It should have been a new version of the CLI, but for whatever reason, the CLI that's running on this machine doesn't have the agent core command line commands available in them, which is being circumvented right now. There's an agent core, well, it's a strands agent. There's a strands agent that is going to be used to talk directly to the AWS API. And as soon as it does that workaround, we should be able to get to the same result. This is what's so amazing about Kiro, in my opinion, is when I'm doing development, I don't do development every day. I do some network engineering consulting, security consulting. I wear many hats, and I don't stare at code all day, every day. And when I do decide, more as a hobby than anything, to get into the code and go soup to nuts, starting with a design of my own and try to do the deployment, I run into snags all the time that deal with dependencies and version numbers, and to have somebody else circumvent all those little snags is very refreshing. To write your own agent to talk directly to the API is not necessarily the most elegant way to circumvent a problem with the CLI not being up to date. But if it works and all I have to do is click the word trust a couple times, I'm perfectly happy going this way. Oh, I just refreshed the AWS Management Console and see that there was a runtime that has been deployed. It's not functional right now, and I'm trusting that Kiro will address the issue. It didn't like whatever it had created, so it got rid of it. It's bypassing the error that it had. All right, no error this time. And if you're seeing what's on the screen, if you're able to decipher what's going on, this is, in my opinion, the power of Kiro. When you've created all these moving parts, the DynamoDB table, the S3 buckets, the Lambda functions, the agent core runtime, when there's so much cross-referencing of the Amazon resource names, of some being referred to with the others, trying to cross-reference all those ARNs manually is a huge chore and a pain. And it now seems like it has given it a swift kick and gotten all of the kinks out. So that is looking good. And we should be able to come to a web browser. And again, in the DynamoDB table, we have nothing running the scan. There are no items here. If I were to go to https:// what did we call it? www.awsteach.com. There is some content being delivered by CloudFront, asking me for a zip code. I live in 78730 personally. I've got an email address of tommyc@msn.com with that phone number. And if I click on notify me, registration failed. Please try again. I will take this and put it into Kiro and say, here is the first registration attempt. And let it go to town. And by the way, you could have a more robust SDLC so that some human testing would be involved before it reached this point. Or you could give it some sample data. I could have provided a table with zip codes and phone numbers and email addresses that could have been used before it ever got to this phase. So attempted relative import with no known parent package, the handler.py uses from geocoder import. Okay, so there is some sort of a request being made to find the latitude and longitude of either the International Space Station or the zip code. I don't really know. I guess it wouldn't be looking for the ISS yet if it's just trying to do a registration. So must have been looking for the coordinates of the zip code, and it failed. No problem. As soon as I told Kiro that there was an error, it seemed like it was able to take that error log and run with it. So it's doing another SAM build. Going to take a while, but I'm confident with enough iterations it will come to a good conclusion. Okay, Kiro is asking me to repeat the request. And so, if I click the notify me button again, invalid phone number format, please use +1. Fine, I can do that. Notify me. An internal error occurred, please try again later. I'm not going to try again later. Hit enter, didn't look like it took. There we go. All right, so this is just a cycle now where we make an attempt. We ask Kiro to check the errors. Actually, I can go ahead and stage this. Once you complete the fix, please test it again yourself. If you have access to a browser tool, if not, don't install one. I'll do it. I don't want to take the time to install a browser tool. It could easily create a browser tool using Strands Agent, but I don't want it to take that time. So I'm telling it that once the fix is complete, I'd like it to do the testing rather than have me do the testing. Oh, the census endpoint requires a street address. It can't geocode by a zip alone. Switch to the census geocoder locations one-line address endpoint with just the zip, which works for zip-only lookups. Okay, that seems reasonable. I was going to tell it to just use a map tool to find a random address. Looks like it was able to find it. So there's a website called Zipomonymous that it's going to be using because the geocoder didn't work with the first publicly available resource that it thought of. Okay, so it did the registration itself, and that means that I should be able to go to the table and see a table user, and there it is. It is somebody named Tommy C at MSN.com with that phone number with an active notification request. So that all looks good. I guess let me create another one. I was thinking about looking at a map and finding a good zip code that I think will be hit today. But let me just go ahead and say zip code of 1001 with the same phone number and email address. Ooh, email or phone is already registered. I did not realize it would not allow collisions. If you have two different zip codes and would like to be notified if it's going over either one, I could see you wanting like to text a friend in a different zip code, hey, you've got a space station flying over you, look up. But whatever. I've got a separate phone number that I could have. That's my Google Voice number here, and I've got ctommy@gmail.com as an email address I can use. So let me just say that if we are, oops, one in front of that. Registration is successful for 10001, I think is in New York. So now I've got two different places that if the International Space Station is overhead, I should receive a text message and email. Now, I should mention that for an email to go out, I need the SES service, which I have configured. For text messages to go out, it uses the SNS service. I made a request to get out of the sandbox for SNS. I'm not sure if I'm actually going to be able to have a text message sent, but the email will supply the proof of concept that Kiro did its job. It's just a question of AWS support coming through to see if I can actually send a text message. But that essentially is the entire deployment. I could say that I'd like to modify things. The look and feel of this web page is kind of bland. The look and feel of the web page, I feel like, takes away from the wonder and magic. Please use NASA and SpaceX websites for inspiration to modify the look and feel. And throw in some public domain pictures of the ISS and rockets. All right, let's see what it does with that. So I'm not a graphic designer by any stretch of the imagination. Any website design that I've done, I was never satisfied. Let's see how it does. I'm kind of curious to see how long it takes it to modify the front end. Doesn't seem like it should take a whole lot of time just to modify the cosmetic pieces of what we're looking at here. Oh, and please assume any phone number is US based and accept the +1 XXX XXX format, but also accept it with the +1 assumed, with or without hyphens. This will actually potentially take a little bit longer because it's going to have to do some back-end recoding. Let's see if it's already made a modification to the front end. Not yet. Although there could be some caching issues. The CloudFront service is going to cache the content for a time to live that I don't know what it would have used, even if it was just 5 minutes, for me to refresh the content here would not do me any good. I've got a VPN that I can use to connect in a different machine. I know you can't see this, but I'm refreshing the page. Yep, I refreshed the page over on a different machine, and it did in fact show me a different look and feel. Doesn't have any pictures yet, but let me see when you modify the front end look and feel. Please expire the content in Cloud Front to allow testing at my workstation. Clearly, we're in the home stretch here. I mean, this is just showing you that once you have climbed the mountain and gotten the first version of the application to work, you're not done. And I'm just telling it in casual prompts what changes I want to make to the environment. But you are welcome to implement your changes through a CI/CD pipeline. You're welcome to use Travis CI, Circle CI, anything else you want. CloudFront cache has been invalidated. That should mean that I can hit the F5 button here and refresh this, and there I go. Got ourselves a fantastic picture of the International Space Station. I was really hoping for rockets. SpaceX Crew Dragon launch. Apparently there is some caching and checks being made to prevent the kind of linking of pictures that I'm attempting here. So if I were to take a screenshot of this, I'm not sure that the screenshot is going to work to be able to tell Kiro about, because I'd be copying from my own machine. Let me make it clearer where this is. All right, so if I told Kiro that, oh, look at that, it worked. So if I tell Kiro that some pictures are not displayed, please fix or remove, then it won't be using the pictures that are not being displayed. So you get the idea. I say this is mission accomplished. I certainly was just, 4 hours ago, thinking it would be nice to be able to show soup to nuts, square one, up through the finish line, what exactly it takes to deploy an application such as this. Now, I have not actually received the text messages, but that's just the SES and SNS services that I'm not sure I've configured properly. And again, those are the only resources that were set up ahead of time. I created a DNS zone. I registered a domain name called awsteach.com, and I set up my SES service so that there's a message that can be sent, that there's a source mailbox that can be used of, I believe, ISS at awsteach.com. I just specified that as a source email for any outbound messages. That was the SES service. I got that all approved and tested before I started this demo today. And that's it. You saw me from the start. Just create an EC2 instance, and you don't have to have an EC2 instance. Everything I did in Kiro, you're welcome to do in your own machine. I did upgrade in front of you to a paid-for version of Kiro, and we're up to almost 200 credits. That means that if you're collaborating with some colleagues, it would take 4 of you to each have 49 credits exactly used. That's not going to be the most fun way to authorize Kiro to do all the work that it's done. Also, if you noticed, there were a lot of throttling issues before I paid for my account. When I had the 50 credits and that's it, it was telling me too many threads were running at once or something like that, and I had to wait and try it again. I am over 200 credits now. Of course, I'm including some cosmetic stuff at the end here, but it did take 200 credits to get to the finish line of this demo, so keep that in mind if you are hoping to do something like this yourself. So now, that's pretty much it. That's all I have for this demonstration. Now it's using only pictures that actually can be accessed, and all you have to do is punch in some information, and it will comply. Hopefully that was interesting. Was to me. I had some fun. I'm going to pause the video. I might actually have the opportunity to add a little bit to this content that include an actual email being received. But the space station would actually have to fly over here in Austin, Texas, or New York City in order for me to receive the text. So I'm not sure that's going to happen anytime soon, but we'll find out. I've enjoyed it. Hope you have too. Okay, found a website that shows where the International Space Station will be going for the next few hours. So I'm wondering when it crosses over the US, will I be able to have an idea of which zip codes it might be running over and register one of those zip codes?
Hey, Tony.
Yeah, I'm muted.
She's waiting on you.
Cool.
What time's Concordia?
8 a.m. 8 a.m.
To what?
No, Chew.
8 a.m.
8 to 4.
And what's Sutton? What's Sutton?
8.
8 to 3?
No, also 8 to 4. That's why we're having trouble.
Wait, can't one of you pick me up and one of them?
Yeah, we're not sure what's going on. Tomorrow's easy. It's Tuesday and Wednesday that I'm teaching those days.
Mommy, how about like, since you said Anson was going, right? So then Anson was like,
I did. And I'm waiting to hear because she said Anderson's dad may not work on Tuesday, so Anderson may not go. I'm waiting to see if Brandon
So it looks like the next time that it'll pass over the US is going to be tomorrow morning at 8:30, which is after the sun has come up, so that won't work for us. Oh, although I don't know what time zone this is. This 3:30 p.m. is potentially going to be a different time zone. No, this is my local time zone. So I was curious to see if it was using my location to zero in on a time. And it looks to me like it is, in fact, using my own time here in Austin, Texas. So there will be no U.S. sightings anytime soon. So anyway, I was hoping that I could pick a time in the near future. I was hoping I could pick a time in the near future for a zip code to be registered that would receive a message, but I picked a pretty bad time. A couple days previous, it probably would have worked, but right now there is no future sighting of the IAS anytime soon. Still, the application is configured perfectly. It's just that it's not going to do anything functional for the next few days.